Well, welcome back for another episode of In Case You Missed It. We've got an exciting midweek episode for you this week where we're breaking down a new market partnership and also talking to one of the largest cities about how they're using technology and kind of some of the partnership elements here as well. Joining me today, Amber DeTavio, Vice President of Product Management at Accela, Luke Norris, Managing Director of Strategy and Government Relations at Open Cities, and Kevin Goodwin, CTO for the City of San Antonio. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Amber, today you're announcing a new partnership between your two companies that goes beyond just a data collaboration or reselling partners. You've actually launched a new integrated product that enables a digital premium experience. Can you tell us a little bit about this partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about it, first of all. But yes, we have been, working with governments, small, large, for many years now. And we really wanted to take it to the next level when it comes to online services and helping them with their interactions with their citizens and their communities, and really take it to that next level so that their citizens could find the things that they needed to do. And so we started looking for a partner who really excelled in this, where their focus was the same as ours. Really, they thought the same way that we did, and they wanted to provide that same level of service. And so we started to talk to Open Cities about this. They build websites for cities all over the world, and they are solely focused on government, just like we are. And so we really thought the two of us together could really provide the type of service that we wanted to offer to our customers.
Luke, why now? What are the drivers?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of drivers. I think obviously governments are being asked to do more now than they ever have with limited resources, and that means that they need more efficient ways to deliver digital services. Certainly COVID-19 is a huge pressure just in and of itself, but beyond that, I think citizens are requiring and demanding more and better digital services as they become accustomed to Netflix or booking a ride on Uber. That citizen demand is just becoming much, much more prolific. And then governments really need a way for that to be fully accessible and inclusive, taking into account that more and more residents are accessing their government off of their mobile device. There's a huge demand for those digital services to be fully accessible and fully responsive, probably now more than ever.
So one of the fascinating things about the market right now is we're seeing a lot of really creative partnerships to address really complex problems in the space. And Luke, I'd love to get your perspective on this because you've described this partnership not just as a new product but a new market approach. So how does this differ from what you're seeing with other companies in the space?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that kind of underpin that, right? So I think you're seeing more and more firms become really specialized in the things that they do best, knowing that it's really hard for firms to do everything well, right? You end up becoming the master of none. So in our case, what we really focus on is providing really great feature-rich user experiences that exist as a horizontal user experience layer. That really should be agnostic from or separate from the core operating systems that allows cities now to unify a user experience, knowing that they're going to have to plug and play with a lot of different systems of record, sometimes no systems of record. So we actually see this trend emerging where, because of APIs and data connections that are becoming more mainstream now in the way that various firms build out their technology, cities now really do have the ability to create that horizontal user experience layer that is separate from that business logic so that they can have a much more streamlined modern user interface that isn't just required on having lots of disparate user experiences. And, I think Kevin's actually been someone that's really championed that ability to make sure that you have purpose-built platforms and that you're really making investments in core operating systems instead of lots of systems that don't create a streamlined user experience.
Right. So we typically have large, heavy work applications on the back end. Amber and Luke have both talked about how excited they are about this, but I don't think they can begin to approach the excitement that I have about this, being a customer of both. We've been in a Accela shop for about 4 years, and we've been an Open Cities shop for about 1.5 years. And having the opportunity to bring these two together to be able to provide that that layer on top of the layer that provides the business value and the customer experience is it's a breath of fresh air for me.
Luke, one of the things that we've talked about on past episodes of In Case You Missed It is this moment in the GovTech space of the rise of the platform. Is this something that other companies should also be taking awareness to?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Again, because I think that governments need the ability to do more with less resources. And the more that governments can really solve specific focuses, rather than trying to kind of be these really broad vendors that try to take over everything. It's easier for companies that want to scale because you can scale in a way that's providing much more specific service to a government rather than having to be the organization that embeds yourself across really deeply rooted investments in a lot of core applications or applications that have been homegrown. So certainly I think it's an opportunity. But it's a challenge for a lot of other big companies to really adapt, right? Because they've been so focused on trying to be so broad that sometimes it's hard for them also to decouple and think strategically about what is it that we can really do the best and how do we provide our users who want a agile, iterative, low code piece of software on the front end. And that's what I think Accela really did here. They listened to their customers, they understood their pain point, and they partnered with somebody that already had a solution rather than trying to go build something on their own.
So Amber, I want to bring you back into the conversation here and talk a little bit about the use cases that you're looking at tackling with this partnership. What are some of those use cases that you're looking at? And then Kevin, I'd love to get your input on that afterwards.
Yeah, so I think the use cases that we were tackling that were the most common things we heard from our customers were really the more complex ones. So our software handles all of the transacting. If you want to fill out an application online, then you'd go online, you'd fill it out. But it didn't really tell you the story before you got to that point. Like, what type of application do I need to fill out in order to receive this service, or to get this business license, or to get to, apply for a specific permit? And so we were missing that added layer on top that really provided the information to the citizen on what was required, what did they need to do, what should they expect, how long will it take, and also, do I qualify? Can I apply for this license with, based on where I live, based on the credentials that I might have? And so the use case we really wanted to tackle here is really those more complex processes that required them to do research to find the information that they needed to get the job done. So, some great examples, I think, would be any type of business that requires multiple licenses. If you're opening a restaurant, you're going to need a business license, you need a liquor license, you need a permit with the environmental health department, you need, many different things in order to just open your business. And this really streamlines that process. It tells them exactly what they need to do to apply for all those different permits, and removes the complexity from them, right? Even though we know that those processes still exist on the back end.
So Kevin, I know that this was something that was actually on your roadmap apparently before the partnership was formalized. Tell us a little bit about some of the use cases you hope to see out of this.
So Accela is a big G2B platform on the back end to us that's government to business interactions for things like regulatory permits and land development. So in our initial deployment, it's based on really working with large businesses. So most of those typically are fairly complex regulatory transactions that happen. However, we're also deploying very citizen-centric functions. For example, something as basic as getting a garage sale permit is managed by the Accela platform on the front end. And the front end experience is okay, but it's not what it needs to be. We recently chartered a customer experience governance group at the top of the city government, and the focus is to provide excellent services and an excellent service experience for our citizens. So our expectation is going to be to take some of those more citizen-centric transactions that are managed on the Accela platform on the back end and turn them into true delighters where people don't dread coming in to apply, but it's actually a pleasant, engaging experience, as Luke talked about at the beginning with going to Netflix and renting a movie. So we've got that on our radar.
Luke, your integrated product is also pushing a no-code approach. Can you share more about what this means to government agencies and non-technical leaders that might be tuning into this episode?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that we've seen is, whether driven by the desire to have kind of open source or being beholden to vendors who make most of their money by developing technology kind of in a custom built environment, a lot of cities end up with something that I kind of have heard from a good friend of ours from the city of San Antonio as kind of the idea of UX debt, right? You end up with UX debt that you always aim to come back to and make better, make more user-centered, and make more agile, but you never have the time because you're always constantly maintaining the other stuff that has been built. And so what we've actually seen is that's been really driven by a lot of custom dev environments or being beholden to some of those vendors that just build something for you. That's how they make their money, and then they walk away. So what we've seen is increasingly governments are really driving for a low-code environment that gets them out of having to build and maintain a lot of stuff on their own, but instead they're benefiting from a SaaS platform that is forward compatible, that has the features that maintain for global accessibility standards, modern UX trends like swiping or double tapping or double clicking, whatever the case might be, but also that they want the ability to not always have to be beholden to turning back to their own IT teams, right? I think there's a drive and a desire to, again, make sure that the people that are the most close to the customers actually have the ability to guide what those user experiences should be. They know the pain points, and if they have the ability to assemble without any custom HTML, CSS, or knowing any tech skills, how to assemble those digital services on their own, you're inherently doing that in a user-centered way. And so what we've seen is that people can really pick up, deploy technology in minutes instead of having to turn around to IT, have a business analyst done or assigned to it, go through wireframing, wait for it to be developed and tested, to creating these services that are much more rapidly deployed, that are, again, focused on doing it from a user-centered lens by connecting the people who own and deliver that service to actually now being capable of delivering and developing and designing those without having any tech skills.
And Amber, low-code's a trend that you've been following for quite some time, and Accela has done some work on as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so really we've taken the low-code approach with our platform from the very beginning. We wanted something that could be configured, not custom code. We wanted our customers to be able to add new services, to be able to adjust to policy change, to adjust to new regulations very easily without having to bring in a developer or even rely sometimes on their IT staff. A lot of government has to deal with these types of, I would call them unfunded mandates, and there's no funding, but they don't have any choice but to roll those services out. And so this allows them to be able to do that without having to, fork out the extra money to be able to meet those needs.
You've got low-code experience, obviously, in some of your recent deployments as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. We were on the road to no code when COVID got here. On the last couple of months since then, the journey has been accelerated quite a bit. We had to respond quickly using a variety of low-code technologies, among them open cities, to be a major part of our response and recovery efforts within the city. It's definitely something that has made us deliver better, faster. It's identified that whereas you may not need as many people to write software and to develop code and do the coding, it's really caused us to flex different muscles in developing a better understanding of what usability and usefulness means. It's one of the true values that we found with the Open Cities platform is that a lot of that is in the box. So it helps us do things right when our mandate is to do them right now.
So I kind of want to, ask about the future. So, COVID-19 has impacted agencies across the country, really across the world. And so the digital experience of government has also rapidly adapted as a part of that. And so, Kevin, I'd love to start with you on this and just get your thoughts on kind of where we're going from here and maybe a little bit about how San Antonio has responded to all the craziness from a digital standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were, as I stated, we were already on this path when COVID got here. This got us there faster. As you know, the initial response, right? What are we dealing with? How do we get information out to people? How do we make the information usable, useful, and accessible to them? The second piece of it was we need to start providing the services, the emergency services that the public now depended upon to maintain while they were dealing with the crisis in their own particular way. Now, as we go to reconfiguring city services to be more accessible, and in a lot of cases, that means taking away the need to walk into an office and talk to a person. And we've found that that's where these two technologies really come together for us, is being able to reconfigure those services better to make them more accessible to the people that need them, or in the case of regulatory processes, have to do them. The COVID response at the city has definitely taught us that that's hyper important now more than ever before. People that are coming to the city because they need help with something or they need information on something, it's because they're in some kind of a crisis situation, and being able to provide an excellent experience for them while they deal with the trauma is really helping us to provide better services.
And Dustin, maybe if I can jump in, I think part of that future is what COVID is teaching all of us is it is about doing it right now. And in many ways, it's been a forcing function for so many governments to not only adopt new user-centered or citizen-centered digital services, but also to digitize internal processes. We have a number of customers that are using our technology to automate internal processes, whether it's budget requisitions or administrative action orders or any of those types of things that you've never prioritized making digital. Now it's forcing it. So I think what it's going to do is, kind of back to my starting point at Code for America, it's finally bringing that Venn diagram of policy, technology, and operations to bear, where they really start to operate as a three-legged stool instead of just kind of being a more wobbly environment where none of those really works in tandem with each other.
Amber, where do the audience go to find out more on this?
Well, they can go to our website at accela.com or give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, awesome. We greatly appreciate all of your time today and helping us with our biggest episode yet in terms of the number of guests. So feel free to check us out in case you missed it when this episode drops. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy a weekend.
Thank you. You guys too.